This is so easy and fun. You take your bead, I have a 6mm one. You could use bigger or smaller. And take about 1.5 feet of wire, 1/2 meter, and bring the bead to the middle of the wire, crimp it, and then start wrapping the wire around the bead like that, tight. And then basically you're just gonna hold the two strands side by side and just make pretty loops. And you could just do one loop, or you can do 2 loops, as many as you like. And then when you're done, you're just gonna come to the top, make one last loop, scarf it around that, tuck in the sharp edges right there, of sharp ends of each strand, put your earring hook on there, boom, you're done. Now, you can make these wider or looser depending on how you want to do it. You could come around and you can have the strands really wide and even go into a small loop and come out really wide again, or go into a big loop. And what you'll find is, if you want, you can add teeny tiny little beads in between, like 4mm with a thinner, you can get a thinner piece of wire and pretend the purple is a thinner wire, and you can wrap it around as you go up, thread these guys in, and you could do that. You could have a larger matching pendant, or you can do it with just the earring. So let's do this. This is 18 gauge. You can use 20. 20 will be easier on your fingers. I like 18 gauge if you can muscle it, because sometimes it's a little stronger, a little firmer. But we're wrapping it all the way around the stone. This is too rough. I would say do 20 gauge. I'm going to stick with this 18 because I started. But get it around like that, and then to keep the strands a little bit apart but still side by side, kind of put your finger in the middle as you're doing your curves. And you just kind of mess with it and you get a hang of it. Sometimes you turn one strand at a time, like that. See, that's a nice big curve. It's a little too big for me, so you start out big, you can always roll it tighter. These are funky, they're fun. And if you want to use copper wire, a lot of the copper wire is smoother. Sometimes this silver is a little bit rough. It makes sharper corners than you would like. So the real dead soft copper is just the best, I suggest. But I'm just playing with this, you'll just get the hang of it as you play with it, and it's just one strand then the next, and they're following. Now I want my next loop to be a little tighter at the top here, and I want this. See, I'm molding it like I wanted those loops closer together, and now I'm at the top, putting the strands close together, wrapping them around my finger one more time. You can use the round nose for this if it's too rough on your fingers. The round nose pliers, and just get them like that. Make your top loop and roll it, and then holding it tight, holding it as open as you want it to be, wrap it around itself like this, and then you can kind of fold it up. Start to wrap, like make a scarf around it as if it's a face. And once you get up about once or twice, cut the ends. Yeah, I totally suggest doing 20 gauge. This 18 gauge, I'm used to it, so I can muscle it in, but it's pretty rough. And I'm trying to cut both strands at once. There we go. And then just tuck in those 2 sharp ends, just pinch them right in. You can do one at a time or both at the same time. You just want to diagonally shove them into the little bowl that's made by the scarf. And now this got turned. I want it like that. And voila, that's a beautiful pendant or earring. You could do both, either one. I'm going to do one more to show you a slightly different variation on it. This one, I'm going to wrap it a little bit more in the beginning and just get like a beautiful swirl going around the stone itself before I do anything else. Now you can do a tight swirl, you can press it tight up against the stone, or you can have it loose. If you have it looser, you get more volume. It kind of spreads out more and looks a little bigger than it is. It's kind of fun too. Now I'm coming in for my first loop, doing one strand at a time because this 18 gauge is, again, it's pretty harsh, but I feel like that's coming out pretty cool. I'm kind of learning as I go. I've never actually done this exact thing. I just thought of it in my head. It's a really fun stuff about wire wrapping is like, as you do more stuff, you'll start to get ideas in your head, and then you just try them, and a lot of times they come out really close to what you imagined. And that's just super fun. So I'm going to cut it closer. Maybe take 2 feet to be on the safe side your first time, because I'm cutting it very close with almost running out of wire. But let's get my round nose in for some help here. There we go. We've got that initial wrap, and it's starting to wrap down. You want to bend it back up so you can get that scarf feeling where it wraps across, starts wrapping across up to the top. And let's hold it there with the round nose because it's trying to bend out of my trying to bend out of my grasp. There we go. This last strand's not going to make it one more time around, so I'm just going to cut him right there and tuck him. That's fine. You can do that. He is in. This guy, he can come around a few more times. Depends how much of a scarf you want. But as soon as you start to run out, just cut your losses and tuck. Don't try to press it to the very end and then find out you've just not enough to make it. There we go. So that's another two cute little versions we got there. And let's do a pendant to match. Now for the pendant, I'm going to do 16 gauge, which should be really tough. If I can do 16, you guys should be able to do 18. The pendants take a little more beating than earrings, so sometimes I like to use heavier stuff. So again, I'm going to take about 2 feet. This time I have an 8mm, same kind of stone, but it's a little bit bigger than the 6mm. You can see the difference in size. And it's good because that has a bigger hole too, and that can take the 16 gauge. Always check first, make sure your stone can take, obviously, has a hole big enough for the gauge you're using. Bringing it to the middle again. And, oh, this is going to be a workout on my fingers. I love it. It's coming around. We're coming around the same direction, right? And just taking my time, coming around, making a nice big fat loose swirl. There's no right or wrong. Doesn't matter if it turns more oval or if it's completely balanced. Just kind of eyeballing it and having fun. Just having fun. Having fun all day. Having fun. All right, we're ready to start curving backwards for our first loop. Oh yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm gonna do this strand first. When it's thin gauge, I just wrap them both together, but I want to be careful with this stuff, especially since this heavier silver kind of kinks more easily. I want that inner loop to be really tight. Here comes my outer loop. A little bit wider. I'll roll the whole thing a little tighter. A little bit more. All right. Get it just the way I want. And sometimes you want to overshoot with these loops. So I'm coming all the way back down just to make the curve really strong. So when I come back up, it's going to be that much more pronounced. All right, I'm doing this one again. Oh, teeny tiny. This is hurting my fingers. Oh, my fingers are so... No, it's fine. I'm using my round nose now to help me out because I want to make it really tight. I'm trying to put a lot of space in between the strands here so I can see if I can thread in a couple little guys. See how that turns out. It's gonna be a Mondo pendant. But you know what? When your beautiful self or your beautiful friend wants to go out with a beautiful outfit and wants to put on, spare no expense to put on a really elegant, eye-catching, conversation-starting piece, gotta go big or go home, right? I mean, basically, they tell you that at the door when you get to the party. They take out a measuring tape and they measure your pendant, and they say, is your pendant big enough? And if your pendant is not big enough, they say, I'm sorry, ma'am, sir, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go home. Because you see the sign on the door says, go big or go home, and you apparently did not pay attention and you did not go big. So there's one option left, and that's numero dos, which is go home. And you don't want to be in that predicament. You want to be the one. They say we don't even need to take the measuring tape out. That pendant is so gorgeously humongous. You guys get to stay as late as you want. In fact, here's a VIP card for some free drinks because your pendant is so amazing. This is a true story. This happens all the time. You wear the right piece of jewelry and people at parties just fawn all over you, especially at the elite Hollywood parties. I can tell you, I know a lot about Hollywood. I can find it on the map sometimes, and I can spell it correctly a lot of times. Look at that. That's some wild craziness. And again, you can make it tighter if you want. I was going to thread in some teeny tiny beads. I don't seem to have room to fit them now. So that was the idea. I was going to pull this apart, see if I can still make it work. Maybe if I pull these strands wider open. This is called learn as you go. Ooh. Okay. We got this. I believe in us. I believe in you and me. Oh, look at that. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this pendant right now. Okay. Oh, yeah. Opened up. Baby. Let's get some 26 gauge or 28. You could do 24, but 26 is my go-to. That's what I'm used to. But basically, we want some thin gauge. I'm still rambling because I'm trying to figure out where I put it. I couldn't find it. Luckily, I found some 22 gauge. It's a little heavier, but it'll do the job. So I'm going to take about, I don't know. Let's be on the safe side. Let's take almost 2 feet. Now I got all these cute little 4mm beads to thread in. So let's review. 4mm. The earrings were 6mm. And the big stone for the pendant is 8mm. My 3 favorite sizes. I also do 10mm once in a while, but that's getting pretty big. Okay. Let's anchor this guy. Normally I'd say go from the middle, but this time I'm going to say take about 6 inches from one side and take from 6 inches, go to this slightly middle. Put it right down in here, and let's just kind of thread it. I'm not the expert threader, so if this looks a little bit weird and wonky, forgive me, but just come around once or twice, pull it super tight with your pliers to get a nice loop in there that's not going to move. I'm going to do one more. Whoa, what happened there? I just went right through it. It's trying to kink on me. You're not going to do it, not today, wire. This is why I wanted the thinner gauge. I'm the boss, wire. I tell you how it goes. If you feel like you get hit a part where it's not moving, sometimes you can muscle it through. Sometimes it'll break. So you want to try to find where it's stuck and try to ease it through first before trying to just muscle it. But anyway, that worked out. So, I'm just going to come across the top here like this. And I'm going to put my first bead on. Whoop! You missed it. He slid all the way down the rail. Alright, so I want him to be about right there. So, scratch that. I'm going to come around here first. I'm going to anchor it right to the part I want him to come from. Whoa. Yeah, this 20 gauge is like, it's wiry wire. There we go. Got it right where we wanted it. That's not where I wanted it. I wanted it up here like that. Okay. All right. Pull it tight. There we go. All right. Put the bead on. So see, I looped it around there once, so it's anchored right there. There you go. Get the bead right to where you want it, and then wrap it around that side one time, tight. Just come around and pull. Bam. Gotcha. Now, I want to lower that a little bit. See how you can do that? That's kind of fun. You can still slide it. Now, I want to put another bead. I want to put about 3 more beads. So I want to space them a little bit. So I'm going to do this thing where I take the wire and I wrap it around and around and around, but kind of in a diagonal, so it starts to snake up the fatter piece. This is where I'm really glad I have 16 gauge, because this 16 gauge is really taking, you know, I'm pulling real hard, and 16 gauge is not losing its shape because it's strong. But it also happens to be, if you use thinner on thinner, like if you had 26 gauge, it wouldn't be putting as much pressure. This 22 gauge is really tough stuff, but it's going to look cool, so I don't care. Just threading it through there. Next little stone coming around. And I want that one right about there. Now I'm going to thread it. See, I snaked up there, and I came across, but that one I'm going to snake up, do another one, another one, another one, up here, I might put one each on these cute little loops, and then I'll be done. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one I didn't have to snake up at all. See, this one went snake, 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 and then that one was already in place. So I wrapped it once and went right for the bead. So, you know, don't stick to a specific rule if it's not working. And see how these two are closer and they're farther apart? I'm gonna pull these down and make them a little closer together. Push this one up a little more so they kind of balance. Then they kind of move up and back. That's fun that they move up and back. If you don't want them to move up and back, you can come in here real carefully and give them like a little crimp. And that will keep it more dead center. Okay, I think this came out pretty good. What to do with the two ends? Basically, you just want to give yourself about 2 inches and then give yourself make a cute little spiral. So you just grab the end, roll it around, give it a little pinch. Careful you don't slip, go real slow. And then once you pinch it good, then turn sideways and roll. And you're just going to do like a couple millimeters at a time. Be patient, go slow, and just roll it, roll it, roll it till you get all the way down. Don't worry if the swirl doesn't come out perfect, because it's just a swirl. Nobody's going to be paying attention to it. It just adds a cute little extra factor. And you could tuck the swirl right there, or you could flip it over. I'm kind of not too happy about this little wire coming across the top there. That doesn't look as smooth as the rest of parts of it. So I'm gonna throw my spiral right up in there, cover that. So voila. And do the same with this guy. And just swirl them up, throw the swirl wherever you want. If you don't want them to snag, it's good to tuck them in somewhere, but if it's a teeny tiny swirl, you just kind of fold them over. You don't worry too much. There we go. Voila.